President-elect Joe Biden spoke eloquently today to America after a mob bum rushed the Capitol in an unprecedented siege on our nation's Constitution and an unruly display of obstruction of justice. In Joe Biden's address, he said, "This is not America." I was listening to Nebraska Republican Senator Ben Sasse on the Senate floor during the electoral certifications. He said, "This is not America." News reporters on CNN, Fox, MSNBC reporting the violence on Capitol Hill, repeatedly exclaiming, "This is not America." I've heard over and over again today that this is not America. Well, will the real America please stand up? Because the last time I checked, America was a high school student named Hazel Bryan Macery, taunting a little Black girl named Elizabeth Eckford for getting an education with white people. The last time I checked, America was a mob of white people hanging Black people proudly for voting. The last time I checked, America assassinated John F. Kennedy. The last time I checked, America had the city of New Orleans looking like a third world country when Hurricane Katrina hit. The last time I checked, America was dispensing bad water to the city of Flint. The last time I checked, the Wilmington coup of 1898 happened in America, which removed and replaced elected officials by violence, force, and yes, death. The last time I checked, the Sand Creek Act happened in America, killing and mutilating 70 to 500 Native Americans. The last time I checked, America forced the relocation and incarceration in concentration camps in the western interior of the country of about 120,000 people of Japanese descent. The last time I checked, America had killed over 350,000 of its citizens by not taking a virus called COVID seriously. And tonight, because our sitting president, Donald J. Trump, believes our most secure election in the history of America is fraudulent, a mob of thugs decided they would take what they couldn't have. Classic America. This is America. My America is in an utter state of delusion if it thinks for one moment this is not who we are. Perhaps this is not what we hope to be. This is not what we dreamt of being. Maybe it's not what we want to be, but half of America, at least 71 million Americans, whichever half you choose, represents exactly what you saw today, yesterday, and you will see tomorrow. My examples have grazed the decades of American history that we would all like to forget and pretend never happened. And I didn't even mention slavery. So if you are a pundit, a veteran reporter, politician, teacher, preacher, electrician, stop the lies. The lies of this election and the lies of who and what we are in this country. My mama used to tell me, eat all the food on your plate, girl. There are people starving in Africa. Because of those commercials that continue to run of malnourished children in that country, I wonder what commercials are running in other countries about America. And what are families sitting at the dinner table telling their children about these United States? Because we are starving. According to the lengthy food lines, we are dying due to COVID. We are in the midst of what could be a civil war, and we have sabotaged our own democracy, that which many nations once envied. America, the beautiful, is in desperate need for some proactive right now. With all due respect, President-elect Joe Biden, the candidate for whom I cast my vote, last time I checked, this is America. And so today I talk to 4 Americans that will help me kind of lay out what we've seen today, with everyone saying, it's a surprise. What's happening? Never in my wildest dreams could I imagine. Oh, Well, now, really? Let's talk about it. Please welcome back to the show co-founder of the Anti-Racism Kentucky Coalition, Dr. O.J. Oleka. Comedian and filmmaker Alicia Cooper is here, and my Friday co-hosts are in the house too, activist and radio personality Dominique DePrima and political analyst Ed Sanders. Dominique, last time that I checked, well, you sound like Nipsey Hussle right now, but you know what? I understand the spirit of what you're saying because our country does have a history, you know, the genocide of the Native American people, the enslavement of people of African descent, the oppression of women. We can go on and on. But I think that is coming from a place of our tradition of a peaceful transfer of power. That is something that has been continuous since our nation's founding and which appears to be violated by today's crazy actions in the state capitol. I also think a lot of people were hoping that we had moved past some of the things that you listed in your American resume with the election of President Barack Obama, the first African-American president. We've elected our first woman vice president, our first African-American and East, Asian vice president. So a lot of people are hoping that we've moved past this. Clearly, our democracy is in peril. I mean, and I don't think that's hyperbole. And I hope that, you know, we can get past this and get our democracy back on track. But Dominique, the last time I checked, Donald Trump was the answer to Barack Obama.
Yeah, but I mean, really,
you really believe that we had moved past what
that's probably delusionary. And this is, you know, I think you've got neo-Nazis, you've got white supremacists, you've got MAGA crazies. And, you know, those folks, a lot of them are fascists. So why should we be surprised when they act like fascists and try to do a coup? I mean, I think you're right in that sense. It's not surprising, but I would dispute the fact that 71 million Americans are those folks. I think a lot of people voted for Donald Trump for different reasons. They wanted a bigger tax return and they were being greedy or, you know, or whatever, you know, they like his policy on this or that. They're against abortion. Not everybody is way over in that extreme marching on the Capitol that voted for the president. I think it's important to keep that in mind so that we're not scared of living in our own country.
Dr. Oleka, there is a majority of those 71 million people that do believe this election is fraudulent, which is the reason why those people bombarded the Capitol today. What do you say to that?
Well, Tammi Mack, in your opening, you mentioned Africa as a continent. Of course, my parents came to the United States from a country in Nigeria in Africa where this type of thing happened all the time. I talked to my mother about the events today, and she said, it feels like I'm back in Nigeria. That is the difference, because you're not supposed to feel like that in the United States of America. I think that Dominique made an excellent point. This is a small subset of people who have no understanding of the rule of law. They have no respect for the rule of law. And it really is sad. I mean, there are a lot of folks who vote for different reasons, as Dominique said, and now some people have been led to believe that the election was stolen. And I think when you have people who have that belief, they don't have a clear understanding of how the process works, and you have a subset of people who are committed to violence, this is what happens. And it's an unfortunate tragedy what happened to this young woman who died today. And it's a terrible stain on the history of our country that we have to endure this type of episode. But I think one of the benefits of our country is that we do bounce back from these types of issues. And I think we can get better. And this is a moment to prove it.
The Save America rally, Trump told his supporters to go to the Capitol. Let's take a look at that.
We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. Capitol. And we're going to try and give, the Democrats are hopeless. They're never voting for anything. Not even one vote. But we're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country. So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all for being here. This is incredible. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, Alicia, do you think that those people who bum rushed the Capitol gave it all they had in regards to their pride and their boldness?
If that's what you want to call it. I felt like it was just sheer anarchy. It was ridiculous. You're bum rushing the Capitol over an election that was correct. There was nothing wrong with this election, but they're listening to Donald Trump. That leaked audio that came out, he was saying that the computers counted each ballot 3 times. Nobody had even heard anything like that before, but he's just throwing anything up against the wall because he's desperate, and they believe everything that comes out of his mouth. And what I realized is that America has really neglected its mentally ill population when they closed a lot of the mental health facilities, and we don't treat our mentally ill the right way, and they need a lot more help, because you cannot listen to a crazy man like this and have all your faculties.
But
and
these weren't anarchists. Let's be clear. The anarchy is a thing. It's an actual philosophy. These were not anarchists. These were fascists. These were neo-Nazis. I think these were terrorists. I think we got to call them what they are. We say they were anarchists, then we're putting the blame on the wrong group of people.
Right. And this was a riot. So to call it anything else is watering it down. They don't want to call it a riot. They don't want to call these people terrorists. And it's funny because when you hear their side, they're like, well, at least we didn't burn down the city. Well, you don't have to burn down the city. You do it in different ways. And when you try to compare what happens with people who feel like an injustice has been done, or people who know that it's state-sponsored terrorism, this is different. We riot over terrorism, and we riot over the things that the cops do. They riot over their entitlements being at risk. It's two completely
don't show
different
up armed and try to take out lawmakers in the state capitol. That hasn't
exactly.
No,
it'll be interesting to see what
because we know better. They would shoot us.
It'll be interesting to see what the punishment will be. We got a lot of soulmates weighing in. We're going to come right back. Soulmates, I see you, and thank you for chatting with us. We're going to chat right back when we come right back on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul, where tonight we are tackling I call it the hell on the heel that happened today. I want to go to some of our soulmates here because you all are weighing in today on this, and I would imagine so, because we haven't really had a place to express ourselves and to vent. We just been watching this all day, and I know what we've been thinking. But I know what we've been thinking. But before we get to that, let me get this is just so many comments. Let's see. Okay. Let me go to Miss Champagne Bella. She said the last time I checked, I'm still waiting on my check. Give us 10,000 hours and I know nothing will change since the last time I checked. Deborah Will says, my God, the land of the free is a bloody business. Thomas Dodson says it's time for a call to action. Jim Crow never left. And then Tammy Gardner, she loves you all. She says, yay, my crew is here tonight. So I'm ready to put your crew on spotlight. We talked about Donald Trump at his Save America rally today, sending people to the Capitol. Well, there's been a lot of, rumors about why they went, how they went, what happened when they went. The police chief of Washington, D.C. kind of laid out exactly what happened. So let's take a listen to what he said happened and how they ended up on the Capitol.
And due to the violent behavior towards the police officers there and their intent on gaining access to the Capitol, a riot was declared. It was clear that the crowd was intent on causing harm to our officers by deploying chemical irritants on police to force entry into the United States Capitol building. Today, what we witnessed was unlawful, riotous behavior.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just didn't hear it then. I hope I didn't ruin it for you viewers out there. I wasn't hearing it, so I thought you weren't hearing it as well. So Ed.
Yes, indeed.
Trump asked them to go to the Capitol. Why do you think he asked them to go to the Capitol? Here's my question here. I want to be very specific about this. Did he ask them to go to the Capitol with the intentions of having a peaceful demonstration and protest? Or did he ask them to go to the Capitol knowing that this would ensue?
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Really, I am, and I hate to say it, right? But, the show of having thousands of people out in front of the Capitol cheering for a position is important. It's an important part of our political process. We do this in just about every issue. It's a part of organizing. It's a part of the political process. I hope that his intent was not to have this occur. I think when we get to the bottom of how the breach of security occurred, because I think there's two things here. One, there's the mob mentality that drove people inside, but there's this real breakdown in security around the Capitol that I think all of us are scratching our heads around. You know, even if they wanted to and had the intent to break into the Capitol, I don't think that they should have been able to, and that's really what's puzzling me tonight.
That puzzled me right from the beginning because I was listening to reporters from different news sources, MSNBC, CNN, Fox. I was listening to them all, and all of them were saying there are no police out here. We only see these protesters. We don't see any signs of security or police. One reporter even went on to say that there were park security that were kind of roaming the Capitol grounds, but there was no police there. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, how is it even possible that there is no security at the Capitol? Dominique, you want to take this? Well, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, have you guys seen the pictures on social media of the officers lifting up the barricades and letting those protesters, terrorists, seditionists, whatever you want to call them, in? Have you seen the pictures of the police officers taking selfies with the terrorists? I mean, one's got to ask oneself, are many of these officers in alignment with the same kind of philosophy as these little fascist MAGA terrorists? And I'm not saying all officers, but let's think about this. We know from an FBI report that law enforcement has been infiltrated nationally by the KKK and other neo-Nazi groups. We know that they just changed Joe Biden's Secret Service detail because there was a concern that the Secret Service officers protecting the president were aligned with President Trump and that they would not be loyal to President-elect Joe Biden. That is a stunning admission. And it shows you that we may have a real problem with law enforcement, you know, in our country. Because honestly, if Black Lives Matter stormed the Capitol like that, they ain't getting in. You know what I'm saying? If that's Iranian bombers trying to get in the Capitol, they ain't getting in. So why do the little fascists get in and get a free pass and some selfies, and they get to stand out there for hours after the curfew is over and nobody starts busting their heads and throwing them in jail? It's not just a coincidence.
No, but Dominique, I mean, we both understand, you know, police movements and sort of movement of force. There is the element of where they clearly were outmanned at the.
But why, Ed? Entry. We knew this was coming. We knew Trump was going to speak, and I got to disagree with you. He has been inciting violence since he was running for office, saying, "I'll pay the hospitals if you beat up the Black Lives Matter protesters." So I don't know, why wouldn't they be prepared? They have every.
No, but what raises the question is there was a very large crowd, and now I actually have to understand what percentage of those people were sort of the agitators, because anytime you have a large crowd like that, it's not everyone in the crowd. The cameras are going to capture the small subset, and you know, right now today we're sifting through it all. In the end game, you may find out that it was just a small portion of people. Also on social media, what you're starting to see,
it wasn't a small portion of people that were on the Capitol.
No, but there's always, like, remember in the BLM marches, there was the guy that, you know, they're walking around breaking the windows. You know, he had nothing to do with BLM, but he was there inciting. And I'm starting to see some of that on social media. All of that needs to get sifted out. Now, all that stated, because I don't agree with why they were there.
There were sympathizers among law enforcement.
I want to read to you all a tweet that either did or didn't age well. You can decide. From Donald Trump. I think this was July 27th, 2020. Anarchists, agitators, or protesters who vandalize or damage our federal courthouse in Portland or any federal buildings in any of our cities or states will be prosecuted under our recently reenacted Statues and Monuments Act. Minimum 10 years in prison. Don't do it. Dr. Oleka, how do we feel about this trumped up tweet?
Well, I think the way it relates to this specific event that happened today, you have to look at the chain of events. I mean, for your viewers, if many of them haven't been to Washington, D.C., there are protests all the time. So the law enforcement officers there, Capitol Police specifically, they don't expect there's going to be an insurrection every time that this happens. So that might explain why the relationship between protesters and Capitol Police was the way that it was. I don't know. I can't say one way or the other, but it may explain why they weren't prepared for the bum rush, because they get protesters every day, but not bum rushed every day. Now, to the president's tweet, that's accurate. If you deface federal property, if you deface federal buildings, if you riot and loot with the intent to destroy, you should be prosecuted. So should these people. These people who incited insurrection, tantamount to treason in some cases. It was a small subset, and they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Do you think that's going to happen, Alicia?
No. And there's video of the cops helping this woman. She had on a huge Trump skull cap, and he was helping her down the steps. She wasn't even elderly. And I'm like, when they took the old man in Buffalo and knocked him all on his head bleeding, they stepped all over him. I'm like, y'all know that these people are Trump sympathizers. These police showed their hand in this situation. We all know whose side they're on. Nobody's surprised, but it was just a trip to see it in real time, how obvious they made. I didn't see any pepper spray. I didn't see any flash bombs. I didn't see billy clubs to the gut. I was like, y'all are all in the tank for this daggone man, and we all know it. Everybody said it, even on social media. Even the white people said, yeah, this is fishy right here, because black people would have had their heads busted in, and we all know that that's the truth. And it's sad, but it's two different Americas, two different injustice systems, and today just proved it.
Dr. Oleka, do you believe that it was indeed an insurrection?
Well, without question. I mean, the definition of insurrection is storming a situation in a way that you want to upset the government proceedings. I mean, treason is similar to that. And when you have people who explicitly say that they want to disrupt what Congress is doing with regard to certification of the election, that's what it is. And that's not a political statement. This isn't a thing of denouncing any type of individual who supported any candidate for office, whether it was Donald Trump, Joe Biden, or anybody in between. You cannot decide that you want to disrupt a democratic, free and fair process in the republic that we live in without it being an insurrection. That's what these people did, and they should be prosecuted.
I want to go to some tweets that I saw. One is from, I think this says Chicken Tikka Maria. This is a really strange way to find out that cops know how to not use deadly force. Yeah, and a hush comes across the room. I found that quite interesting. Joy Reid from MSNBC actually tweeted also. This was an actual MSNBC tweet. White Americans aren't afraid of the cops. White Americans are never afraid of the cops, even when they're committing an insurrection. That's what Joy Ann Reid says about the Trump supporters rioting the U.S. Capitol. And it is interesting. It seems if you look at the images of Black people running from the cops during the protest, and then white people running towards the cops during this insurrection. I want to talk about Lindsey Graham before we get into that, because that's going to be a huge subject. Everybody wants to know if they were Black, would we have gotten that far? One thing I know for sure, and Alicia, I think you said this on your Twitter account, that Trump wall, the way them protesters was climbing that wall, that should have showed Trump that wall shit wasn't never gonna work out. No, Mexicans twice as fast as them people that climbed that wall today. They was needing help. Mexicans don't need no help. But it's all just so crazy, because this is a group of scofflaws who have convinced America that they're law-abiding citizens. And all of a sudden, you ain't hear no Blue Lives Matter when they getting shot. What'd you say, Tammi? There's 4 of them that done got shot now, 4 of them? Yeah. It was one earlier, but as Black people started complaining, they shot 3 more to shut us up. Because they know good shit won't well. We keeping a numbers count. Only 1? You better shoot at least 3 more. So let's take a look at now the question. Look, let's not forget what all of this was about. This was about, in my personal opinion, Mike Pence not following the orders of President Trump and changing the direction of the election as the electoral votes were certified.
Mike Pence waited till the 11th hour to get some balls. So
I still don't know that he did, though.
No, he blocked Donald Trump from Twitter. And then Twitter suspended Trump for 12 hours. It's serious. All Trump's spidey senses and superpowers are gone.
He can't even say anything right now.
He can't even tweet.
However, this is why this started. We have a collective group of people in America who believe that this election was fraudulent. And amongst those people were several GOP members who said, hey, look, we are going to object to the certification of the electoral votes. And because of that, this is why we're in the Capitol in the first place for longer than we probably should be. And then I'm just wondering, after this is all over, are any of them going to change their minds? Are any of them going to say, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth, risking our belief in the Constitution. It's not worth it to show America in a horrible light and to lose our democracy over President Trump. Let's do the right thing. Some of them did, but Lindsey Graham, of all people, took to the Senate floor, and you have to see what he said.
Trump and I, we've had a hell of a journey. I hate it being this way. Oh my God, I hate it. From my point of view, he's been a guy. But today, first thing you'll see, all I can say is count me out. Enough is enough.
Nothing fraudulent about this election, Dr. Oleka.
Well, I think what Senator Graham and his colorful language was saying was that to the people who support the president, they thought he had a great 4 years. Unfortunately, what he's going to be remembered for is the last 30 days. And when you talk about the difficulties of an election that he was unsuccessful in, and when people are convinced that the election was fraudulent, even though the individuals who voted made their cases clear, the state certified the election results and the electors made their case clear, it becomes a challenge when the president himself continues to insist that there were fraudulent elections. So as a result, you're going to have people who agree with that, who try to take it to the next level. But unfortunately for the president, his legacy is going to be today, and it's going to be what happened in the last 30 days, as opposed to the things he did over the past 4 years, which a lot of his supporters have a lot of positive things that they like to be remembered instead.
Dr. Oleka, as a Republican, where do you stand on this?
Well, I mean, as a Republican, I support the rule of law. I support the Constitution. I think that both Senator McConnell and Senator Paul, the senators from my states, made the best case on this. Senator McConnell said this was the most consequential vote that he has ever taken, and he's voted on 2 impeachments and on wars. And he said that if you vote on this issue, the issue of not certifying the electors just as an objection, just as a protest vote, then what you're doing is potentially putting us down a path that could destroy our democracy forever. And Senator Paul said, we believe that states have the right to make the decisions on how their elections are run. Again, I don't use this phrase often when talking about the Republican Party, but if we are in fact the party of states' rights, this is one of the few instances where it's critically important. So as a Republican, I support the rule of law, I support the Constitution, and I support my 2 senators who are right on this issue today.
Dominique, I know you want to speak.
Well, a couple things. I mean, Dr. Oleka said the definition of insurrection is, trying to run up on a place. But really, the definition of a coup is trying to overturn a legal election. And that's what these folks were trying to do today. And that's why I say it rises to the level of coup. They were trying to overturn the will of the American people in a free and fair election. Why do they believe the election is fake? It's not because they woke up with a delusion. It's because the president is using the bully pulpit to pound this point home over and over and over again. So, they're being tricked. It's not just that they're stupid. And the other thing I want to say about Mitch McConnell and his sudden enlightenment about the Constitution is he tried to slide in there that Democrats did the same thing with Al Gore and such, which is absolutely not true. Al Gore rolled over and actually gave up his rightful, claim to that presidency. And that's the opposite of what Donald Trump is doing, in a good way and a bad way. So I thought that was pretty disingenuous of Mitch McConnell to try to make it seem like Trump was copying something that Democrats have done when he is in unprecedented territory with this, power grab, this authoritarian power grab, and this, fascist backed coup attempt, which hopefully will not be successful. I don't think we've seen the end of this. I don't think this is one day. I know those folks plan to stay in the Capitol, keep marching, and I don't know when they'll give up.
Well, as long as he's out by January 20th, I don't care what they do, because this is absolutely ridiculous. The irony of this whole thing, because Dr. Oleka, you said he's going to be remembered for his last 30 days. I think he's going to be remembered for these last 6 months and how he botched the COVID-19 crisis. This man is America's #1 serial killer. And I think that's what he's going to be remembered most for. And the irony is that it was the paper ballots and the mail-in ballots that did him in because they couldn't suppress the vote. So all the things he tried to do turned around and bit him in his orange ass. And this is why he's where he is on the way out. And we got to give props to Stacey Abrams. That lady did the damn thing. The Stacey Abrams is the real MVP. And everybody needs to realize that. Georgia,
I think that President Trump will be most remembered by his tweets. 2 tweets went out today. Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. And then he also tweeted, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful, no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue.
Well, they were taking selfies with him.
He's been calling for violence.
No, he learned everything he learned from one of the biggest criminals, Roy Cohn. Don't sit up there and hit me with this law and order now. You are a con man and a liar, and nothing about his whole existence has been lawful. If you were so law and order.
You talked about, Alicia, that he was locked out of Twitter. Indeed, he was. Ivanka Trump called the rioters patriots, and then she soon deleted her tweet. So how do we feel about Donald Trump being locked out of Twitter for 12 hours?
I love it.
If those tweets aren't removed, he's going to continue to be locked out.
They locked me out for a lot less.
Lock him out.
They locked me out for a lot less. And I feel like they should permanently lock his ass out. He's no longer the president. You don't have to bend to his will. And I think everybody should stop giving him oxygen after January 20th. I don't want to hear the man's name again personally. He's gotten too much free media.
So Creation Muse says if Biden does not grow some balls, the USA will be in trouble worldwide. What do you think Joe Biden needs to do? Because it's not as simple as coming out on television and singing Kumbaya and the world's back together again. It's just not going to go down like that, Ed. So what does Biden need to do?
That's a good question. It's a good question. And I don't know that I've seen the question answered, certainly in the 4 years of Donald Trump. But to Dominic's point about Al Gore, I think there's a line that the president and vice president need to walk. And they're in some ways, they need to show very real commitment to and passion for their ideals and be willing to fight for it. I wish that Al Gore and team had done that in 2000. Because Dominique is right. They had won the presidency and allowed the Republicans to take it from them without a fight. And, you know, where you see issues like that, you want your leadership to stand up and fight. He has a big problem. You know, it's almost like settling up the Civil War again, right? I don't know what he does with that Republican right.
The Abraham Lincoln of the country then. Before we take a break, please check out Fox Soul Screening Room. It's a weekly show that will highlight and celebrate short films created by Black filmmakers around the globe. So if you are interested in submitting a short film, please email screeningroom@foxsoul.tv. I'm sorry, Foxsoul, foxsoultv.com. Is it tv.com? foxsoultv.com. Let me give it to you again so y'all can send your films to the right place. foxsoultv.com. There we go. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul, where we are talking tonight about the hell that happened on the Hill today. Ed Sanders just got finished explaining what Biden might have to do to bring America together again, but we all agree that that's going to be a task and a half. But let's talk about, or let's watch Joe Biden try to address America today.
The scenes of chaos at the Capitol do not reflect a true America. Present who we are. What we're seeing are a small number of extremists dedicated to lawlessness. You've heard me say before in different contexts, the words of a president matter, no matter how good or bad that president is. At their best, the words of a president can inspire. At their worst, they can incite. And therefore, I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
A president can inspire or incite. That was our president-elect. Did he inspire or did he incite? Here is our president.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
Go home and go home in peace. Dr. Oleka, did he inspire or incite? Both of them. Joe Biden, Donald Trump. Who inspired, who incited, who incited, who inspired?
I don't know that either of them really inspired anyone, unfortunately. It's one of the challenges that President-elect Biden is going to have, is that he's not a very inspirational figure. He's certainly a grandfatherly figure, which many would find comforting in this particular time. He's not truly inspirational.
You mean I can lay my head? I can lay my head on his lap.
Precisely. When you feel bad, Uncle Joe's going to take care of you, but he's probably not going to inspire you. The challenge with the president is the way that he communicates. Some of it really does reach a core audience of his supporters. Being peaceful, going home, being able to deal with the fact that the election didn't turn out the way that they wanted to. Those are good tones and those are good things to say. But the other aspects about the election being fraudulent, saying we love you right after the situation that just took place, that could be a challenge because the wrong people, again, the small subset of extremists, they could hear that as a way that they should continue to do what they're doing, which we all agree is the wrong way to go.
Well, Dr. Oleka, I would like for you to run for something. I would vote for you because, because I feel like you have an open mind about things. You're not so attached to what you believe that you can't see the forest for the trees.
Because Dr. Oleka is super smart, so he makes things sound good even when they're really not. I mean, the thing about it is, Donald Trump was inciting his base. He was doing it all day. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. And you have to remember, we're talking about a lot of people. I don't know how small this subset really is, by the way, who are QAnon believers. And they think that the president is giving them secret messages in everything he says. And so when he says, at 1:30, he says, go show them, how they should be acting and how they should be voting. And then at 1:40, he says, love and peace. They know which message is more powerful and important to them. So I think that's,
Yeah, he's just playing with fire. And Joe Biden is walking into some crap right now with this man who we all know is going to be trolling him for the next 4 years. Joe Biden's going to be the first president that needs a concealed carry permit because he doesn't know who to trust. He's going to have to keep his head on a damn swivel because it's serious out here.
I want to get to this because we have to talk about it. Van Jones said, what if Black Lives Matter did this? Look, I can only imagine that our entire firing squad would be on Constitution Avenue if these were Black people climbing the wall, scaling the walls of the Capitol. There is no way on God's green earth Black folk could have gotten that close. What do you think about that, Dr. Oleka?
Well, I think that is part and parcel of the challenge that we have in this country. I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a white conservative, and he made that same comment. He was like, I think this is really where I'm starting to see where people talk about the fact that there are, in fact, two Americas in a lot of ways. What's most important is the consistency with regard to the rule of law and law enforcement. If people are looting, and rioting and trying to destroy Capitol buildings and government buildings and create an insurrection, it doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter what they look like. Those folks should be prosecuted and they should be jailed. And then the opposite is true. If you are executing your First Amendment right to protest peacefully, then you should be left alone. And it is a challenge when people who look like us, Black folks, can look at this and see clearly, at least the way that we believe and what we saw this summer, things would probably be different if these folks were Black.
Dominique, a lot of the points, I want to ask you something specific here, Dominique. A lot of the pundits on television, on the news stations, are saying, look, when Black Lives Matter happened, nothing happened to them.
Yeah, but that's just not the truth.
That's what a lot of people are saying.
Okay, but I'm not just
came out and wanted everybody to stop, not wanted the police to back down on the protesters of the BLM movement.
I understand that, Tammy Mack. I've been at those protests. I am a protester, and I've seen what they do. They give an order to disperse, and then 2 minutes later, they're shooting the crowd up with projectiles. They're knocking down old people. They're, beating up people with sticks. In front of the mayor's of Los Angeles house, they were having a brunch with little kids to try to stop Biden from appointing him to the cabinet. And the LAPD came out with batons. It's very graphic, and they did not stand down. I also want to say, to add on to what Dr. Oleka said, part of it is rooting out white supremacists and racists in law enforcement across the country, not just unconscious bias, but overt members of gangs like we have here in the LA Sheriff's Department, where we have actual gangs, white supremacist gangs, KKK members. We need zero tolerance for these sympathizers, terrorist sympathizers within our law enforcement.
We're going to take a quick break and come right back on the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. We're talking about the insurrection that happened at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. today. And I just want to ask a question to each of our panelists here. There are these images that are just so darn powerful to me. I want to know if a Black person could have sat at the desk of Nancy Pelosi and just chilled like this.
No way.
Does anyone think that photograph could have been taken of a Black man?
Absolutely not.
Unless it's Ben Carson.
And I would like to know if Black people could have just chilled on the steps as if they were at the dormitory lobby like this. Let's take a look at this. Folks is just chilling on the steps like, here we come. Could that have been a gang of Black people?
No.
Yeah, no. And Dominique spoke about it in the last segment, where when you think about law enforcement and their reaction and how they approach even what we saw with the BLM protests, the zeal and the desire and the joy that they take in setting up all the militaristic toys, the rubber bullets, the tear gas, and deploying that against Black crowds. You'd have never seen a Black crowd like that get into the Capitol. And the thought that a cat could sit at Nancy Pelosi's table like that, in her desk, that's crazy to me. I don't know how that
is such a chilling photograph. Like, I mean, literally, it shows you that white folk just have no fear of the police. Zero, zilch, nada, nor of our Constitution, apparently. No respect for our Constitution either. We're talking about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. You took the House Speaker's whole office, dude. Come on now.
I don't trust anybody like that. I bet you that dude.
We're about to wrap this up, but I want to. Van Jones brought up a very, very important question, I thought, because I wanted to know the answer to it. And since I have you four experts and, in your field, your respective fields, I figure I could get my answer from one of the four of you, if not all four. Van Jones on Rioters said, is this the end of something or the beginning of something? And I thought, wow, because it looks to be the end of something. And then you look again and you're like, no. This thing is not going away. So what do we think this is? Dominique, the beginning or the end of something?
Well, I think you laid it out in the beginning of the show, Tammy Mack. I think we're right smack in the middle of something. You know, we still have unfinished business in this country from our enslavement. We still need reparations. We're still dealing with the karma and, you know, the repercussions of the indigenous peoples, genocide, and all of this oppression of poor white people in this country, which is allowed them to be deluded by President Donald Trump and tricked and grifted by him. So I think we're right in the middle of it, but I'm an optimist. I think we will come out of the other side of this and we will see progress and more unity, even if you're not inspired, Dr. Oleka, by Joe Biden. I think normalcy is inspiring right now.
30 seconds, Dr. Oleka, beginning or end?
Well, I think it's both. I think it's the end of the days where we challenge elections just because we don't like them. Whether it is 2016 or whether it's 2020, whichever your party is, you're done with that. I think it's the beginning of belief in our institutions again. I think what you saw in the Senate from Senator McConnell was good. I think what you heard from the president-elect was good. They're going to be working together a lot to get some bills passed on a bipartisan basis. So hopefully it's the start of that. Alicia,
beginning or end?
I'm just surprised that Van Jones stopped smooching Kim Kardashian long enough to give us a good thought.
Ed, is this the beginning or end? You got 15 seconds here.
I missed my window of opportunity that fast.
You did.
Go ahead.
Look,
take it away.
It's just January 6th. It's just January 6th. That's all. We're in the middle of this, cool. and it's going to keep going.
Look, I'm going to take a quote from Malcolm X here and leave you with this. I think it's the chickens coming home to roost. All right, that's the wrap on the Tammi Mack Show on Fox Soul. Until tomorrow, it's a blessing to be in your box. Bye, y'all.